Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
All of our guests today on Donnie and Dolly of the team are sponsored by Basant Motors. That includes John Shannon standing by back east. Basant Motors is celebrating anniversary 31 this year, and to celebrate, they are continuing to give back to the community with their annual scholarship. This year, it's over $31,000, 31st anniversary. Makes sense. It's a lot of money. Good for them. Learn more at basantmotors.com. Again, in case you missed it, it's all over the place, social media, television, radio. Queen Elizabeth passing away at the age of 96. Tough turn. We're going to take it. We're joined now by NHL analyst and co-host of the Bob McCown podcast, John Shannon. John, thanks for doing this. Hope your summer was well. How are you?
I'm great. Summer's never long enough. You know that.
Yeah. Did you make it out to Oliver by any chance?
I did not, but I am planning to go a lot sooner than later. So my hope is to get back to the Valley to play a little golf before Thanksgiving.
At Fairview. John, tough turn, another tough turn, but just your reaction to the passing of Queen Elizabeth at the age of 96. We just ran some video of her at what was then a GM Place back in 2002.
Sure. Well, and the famous, that was a famous picture that was taken in Vancouver in 97. But anybody who is a hockey historian, the most famous picture, and she wasn't the Queen yet, was the famous picture of Maple Leafs captain Ted Kennedy bowing and paying respect to Princess Elizabeth at Maple Leaf Gardens way back before '52 when she visited Canada. The interesting thing for me, Donnie, I'm a pragmatic guy. Things don't disturb me very often. And I'm not a monarchist. I'm a Canadian. Mm-hmm. I understand the role of the crown. But I tell you what, I'm a little numb. It has hit that for the first time in my lifetime that the Queen of England or the crown is going to have a change. Mm-hmm. My parents, it happened 4 times. And so generationally, we are seeing things at this time in 2022 and for the past 3 or 4 years that we have never seen before. And it is quite a time to be alive. And hopefully we do, as you talked about earlier, we have the respect for what Queen Elizabeth did, what role she played, how she adapted over the years, because, the changes in our world from 52 to 22 were probably greater than the changes in the world of any monarch in the history of England and the Commonwealth. So it's a sad day. Make no mistake about it. Even if you're a nonconformist, don't believe in the monarchy, it's a sad day when change like this occurs.
Well, she's been front and center with our money. I know in some cases with the denomination, it's
sure,
changed, but front and center at the very least to her image. So,
it's funny you say that because I still remember as a kid, every once in a while you'd get a penny or a dime with George VI on it.
Yeah, really?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, we didn't have much money on Oliver, and it didn't get changed very often. So.
All right, John, let's talk some hockey if you don't mind. Again, a tough turn, but you recently interviewed Brad Treliving, GM of the Calgary Flames. You did that on the Bob McCown podcast. Just your opinion of the job that he did in the face of adversity in the offseason.
Well, he should go to the World Series of Poker because I think that there was that point the second week of July when they knew that they weren't going to re-sign Gaudreau, and they got the inkling that Matthew Tkachuk wanted out and wasn't going to re-sign, that the world was never going to be the same in Calgary. And the Flames were never going to be that contender again. But what Brad was able to do by creating leverage between clubs, by acquiring Jonathan Huberdeau and in my mind, the linchpin to the trade, Mackenzie Weegar, because their defense is better, and then to be able to sign Nazem Kadri to a contract, I would argue, and both of you can weigh in, but I would argue that the Calgary Flames actually may be better when the season starts than they were when the season ended last year, because they actually have improved their blue line.
John, let's get over to the Canucks. JT Miller, all the news last Friday broke pretty big. Were you surprised? Everybody had him traded. Everybody had him gone. There was no way the Canucks could do this or were willing to do this. And all of a sudden, it drops in the afternoon on Friday.
Well, what's next is really the bigger question, Eric. But I'm not surprised, because any of the times that we had, whether it be on the record or off the record discussions with people in the front office, there was never any direct decision that he's gone. We'll see how we can make it work. We'll try to make it work. And I think there really became a realization as the summer wore on that it was important to have somebody who likes playing in Vancouver, playing for the Canucks. This was not a case of a guy walking in and demanding a trade. This was a guy just trying to leverage the situation to get the most money he could. I think the Vancouver Canucks are going to contend for a playoff spot, and I think they contend for a playoff spot because JT Miller's in the lineup. And I think the guys in the front office knew that. I think Bruce Boudreau knew that. And Patrick and Jim, whether they didn't believe that in the beginning, I think by the time the deal was done, they believed that as well. And that's why he's here. And let's face it, if the team, dovetails and, shanks the ball out of bounds, you now can go and try to peddle a guy that's controllable for a long period of time in the NHL and be an asset to use at that point. So I think this just made so much sense for the Canucks, who, let's face it too, are trying to sell tickets. And it's important to sell tickets with stars, and JT Miller's a star.
So we're going to go from one contract to another right away because Bo Horvat, he's up.
And that's Vancouver. I got to tell you, that's Vancouver, man. I actually had somebody text me to say, well, what about Horvat? Well, okay, you're right. Oh, and then what about Pettersson? Well, hold on. Pettersson's 2 years down the line. Let's not worry about, because we're going to worry about Pettersson next summer.
Yeah.
That's going to be the combination of questions. This is welcome to the National Hockey League in 2022 with a flat cap. 2024, we're going to have teams that are going to probably have $10 to $11 million more to spend. And I think that there are managers that are contemplating that. And I think that that's something that agents are salivating over too.
Yes.
But the Bo thing is going to be real. It's going to hang over their heads all season long unless they get something done quickly. So I suspect that we're going to hear lots of chatter for a long period of time.
Yep.
John, switching gears for a second, 50 years ago this month, the 1972 Summit Series, landmark, needless to say, for the sport of hockey. What sticks out for you? What are your memories?
Well, if memory serves me, since it is September the 8th, isn't September the 8th the night of the game in Vancouver?
Yeah. The Phil Esposito speech.
So, there's two things that stand out to me. No, three. I lied. Three. Mm-hmm. First of all, we've talked about where I lived and where I grew up. So Oliver, British Columbia. In 1972, we had one TV channel.
Yeah.
And we didn't have CTV. I had to find a way to jerry-rig the antenna to get the bad snowy signal so I could watch Game 1 from the Montreal Forum. And when we went up 2-0 in the first 6.5 minutes, I thought this is a cakewalk. And I think I cried myself to bed when I was 15 years old when they lost 7-3 or 7-2. The two things that stand out for me in the first four games, Pete Mahalovic's shorthanded goal in Game 2, still one of the greatest goals I've ever seen in my life. I think I jumped out of my chair. And then you have to talk about Phil's speech. Phil Esposito, what he did at the Coliseum on that Game 4 with Johnny Esau, to tell people how much the players are hurting for not winning, and telling the people, stop criticizing us. We're doing our best. We will do our best. We love this country. That, to me, was such a turning point, not just for the series, but for Esposito as a leader. And for us as a country in many ways, because let's remember, we were as a nation, we were going through tough times. The FLQ crisis had occurred. The East versus West. Prime Minister Trudeau, the first one, was not really trying to keep everybody appeased. He was one of the guys that said, let's have a hockey tournament in order to try to make this country feel as one. And that speech by Phil Esposito, to me, almost as much as Henderson's goal, stands out for me even to this day.
Yeah, I think it's unlike any other series since, John, just because there was that heavy political level that we don't necessarily see now.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
I do. Yeah, I do. And just as a side, because it's the anniversary, I picked up the phone this morning and talked to Bob Cole. Because Bob was the radio voice of the series on CBC Radio. And we got talking about how important it was and how passionate it was. And of course, Bob got into his belief how important it was and the politics of it. And I said, compare it to our American friends talk about Lake Placid and what Lake Placid meant to them.
Yeah.
And Bob said 10 times bigger. It was 10 times bigger. And I know that Rick wasn't old enough to remember, I don't think, but Donnie, you and I were.
Thanks for that, John.
This was it. Mm-hmm. This was it when it came to our country and to our game. It was something special. But I know we got to go, but one quick story. So 2016 World Cup of Hockey. I'm around Air Canada Centre, what it was called then, and I look across to a private box, and there's this giant of a man sitting there. And it's Alexander Yakushev.
Oh, yes.
And if you remember, Yakushev was really the star for the Russians through the whole 8 games, or the Soviets for the 8 games.
Yeah, number 15.
And for the first and only time in my life, Donnie, did I run around the arena, walked into the private box, introduced myself, and said, I have to have a picture with you, Alexander Yakushev.
Yeah,
and it's on the wall over here.
Oh, nice. Tremendous! Yeah,
big
rangy forward. Yeah,
they wore number 15. I tell you, over the years, and you guys know this. You stop being a fan.
Yeah,
you stop being a fan. That day, the picture with Yakushev, I was a fan.
Wow. Well said, John. Well said. Great memories. Thanks for this, and thanks for rejoining us this time around. Appreciate it.
The honor is mine.
Yeah. John, thanks so much. We'll talk to you next Thursday. You bet. John Shannon, co-host of the Bob McCowan podcast, NHL analyst. He mentioned the Phil Esposito, and he really set it up. Yep. The Phil Esposito speech after Team Canada had lost back in 1972 to the Russians at the Pacific Coliseum. Team Canada was getting booed. They were out of shape. They were bombs. They were embarrassing. They were embarrassing all of Canada and the team itself. Phil Esposito afterwards, the famous speech. We're going to go to break with that and come back with the poll question. Donnie and Dolly, the team on check.
People across Canada, we tried. We did our best. And for the people that boo us, geez, all of us guys are really disheartened and we're disillusioned and we're disappointed in some of the people. We cannot believe the bad press we've got, the booing we've gotten in our own buildings. And if the Russians boo their players, if the Russians boo their players like some of the Canadian fans, I'm not saying all of them, some of them booed us, then I'll come back and I'll apologize to each one of the Canadians, but I don't think they will. I'm really disappointed. I am completely disappointed. I cannot believe it. Some of our guys are really down in the dumps. We know, we're trying, but hell, I mean, we're doing the best we can, and they got a good team, and let's face facts. But it doesn't mean that we're not giving it our 150%, because we certainly are.
Donnie and Dolly, the team is supported by AbleAuctions.ca,